Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we are looking at the Joy Toy Frontline Chaos RIN. Now, this is not a line I collect. I know a lot of you have asked me to review Joy Toy products, and I contacted Big Bad Toy Store and said, hey, is there anything you want me to review before Christmas? Anything you want to get eyeballs on? And they said, hey, do you want to review these? I said, okay, send whatever you want to send. And so here it is. This is, I guess Frontline Chaos is their, like, Joy Toy's own set of characters. It's not based on anything. I don't know if I'm understanding that correctly. I think I am. But what they are is a clothed action figure with lots of detail. That's basically it. This one costs at Big Bad Toy Store, at least. I don't know if, I'm assuming they sell other places, but it costs $99, and it doesn't come with a ton of stuff, but it does come with a lot of detail. So I'll let you guys decide for yourselves how you feel about that, but I'm going to go ahead and do the review and let you know how I feel about it by the time we finish. So let's go ahead and get it off the stand and take a closer look. Before we take a look at the figure, let's take a quick look at the packaging. It's very basic on the front, very stylized artwork. I like the artwork a bunch, which was a little bit easier to see at a distance, so that if you wanted to display it, you could, but it still looks nice. I like that. On the side, very basic. Nothing crazy going on there. And then same thing on the back. It is nice packaging for those of you that like packaging. It's a little tricky to get out of the box sometimes, but if you can manage it, it has this kind of fancy packaging. So if you like that sort of thing, hopefully you can see the details in there. It's not too dark. Foam kind of just eats up light. But there you go. There's the packaging. Pretty basic, but still high quality. Alrighty. Time to get into the figure. But first, a question of the day. We haven't done a clothed figure in quite some time. How do you guys feel about action figures with clothes on them? I know the Mezco fans are going to say how much they hate it, but other people might like it. I don't know. For me, it's not a thing I'm into. I don't necessarily hate it across the board, but it's not something I like as a rule because of scaling. And I like my medium to be different mediums to be all the same, like plastic and cloth have a different aesthetic. That's all I'm saying. But these are, let's go ahead and get into the aesthetic. By the way, I'll have a link in the description below. I'm not getting anything other than I got the figure, so it's not like I'm trying to promote it or anything. I'm just going to review it like normal, but there's a link in the description if you want to check them out. So anyway, as far as clothing goes, it has the same problems that you always get with clothing at this scale, which is roughly 1/12 scale. So let's do the height. It stands about 6 3/8 inches tall, so it is a little bit tall, I would say, because it's true. About 16 centimeters. Here she is, Darwin. Here she is up against Darwin. So it's not probably true 1/12 scale, but it's definitely close enough, because I doubt she's supposed to be as tall as Darwin. But anyway, as far as scaling goes, like I said, you do have the issues with cloth like her nylons. It's going to be impossible to show you that detail. Let me see if I can. Maybe you can see it. Yeah, like the material is just too big. The weave is too coarse for the scale. But they did do a really good job on her jacket. It's a very nice material, a good choice for this sort of jacket. I think it looks good. It's probably the best looking 1/12 scale clothing item, soft goods item that I've seen. They have a really nice tiny stitch going on that's not easy to do. It's very good. They have buttons and straps and pockets. Now the pockets aren't functional up here. They do have these little loops and things. Everything is very, very nicely detailed, and as you can see, it's not just a flat material. They added a wash to it, so to speak. Paint. I don't know how they do it. It might be stained or dyed or bleached. I don't know, but they did it. I couldn't get these to function. They look like they do. I don't know for sure, but I could not get the little tabby things to push in, so I can't say for sure, but they look like functional pockets. And the zipper is functional, by the way, so that's pretty cool. I did test that out. And the hood, as you can see, it does stay back fairly nicely, surprisingly nicely, and it'll stay up too. I do wish it had wire in it though, because if you want it to stay up and on where the hood would be, it doesn't really do that. It does pop back. But still, it is a very nice looking set of clothes. And you're probably wondering, can you take the jacket off? And yes, you can. And we're not going to count it as an accessory. Can we go over the hands? I'll probably take the hands off. We're not going to count the jacket as an accessory because it's the way she comes and probably the way most people would want to display her. But the jacket does come off, so we'll take a look at what's underneath so that we can do the rest of the review without the jacket in the way. And I guess we'll put the hands on because what the heck. And we're still in the aesthetic portion, so let's take a look at the hands real quick. They are very nicely detailed. I like that with the combat gloves. Paints are super clean. Like that, good sculpt. Same thing for the shoes. Very nicely detailed. Not so much on the bottom, but you're probably not going to see the bottom of the feet all that much anyway. So yeah, it looks good. Now as far as the clothing goes, we'll go back to that. Skirt is just your basic material. Yes, you technically can remove the clothes if you want to. We're not going to go through that because we aren't that type of collector on this channel. But if you are and don't want to tell anybody about it, that's your own business. They do come off. There's a latch right here or clasp or whatever. And her shirt does have buttons that are removable. You might wanna, I'm just saying, if you want it to be a little more dynamic, maybe just remove one button, but it's fairly low. So if you wanted to remove one button, you wouldn't be just getting a little bit of cleavage. So you probably don't want to do that either unless you live alone. Okay, so that's a thing. But as far as the tie goes, it's a little tricky because of the, whatever you call that, where the shirt overlaps. It sticks up a little bit too much and it's moving the tie around. And the tie is actually done very nicely where it sticks out from the collar. You do get the main piece and then the little piece in there, but otherwise it's just an elastic rope that holds it on, which you'll never see other than on the back here, which you could tuck in. So that's okay, but this does get in the way, so you're gonna have the tie looking like it's windswept all the time. Now her blouse is semi-transparent. It's a very thin material. It's obviously white, so it does let some light through. But there's nothing under there that's painted. It is sculpted, but it's not painted. So if you are, again, one of those types of people who might be interested in something like that, then you're out of luck, unfortunately. But the clothing is still solid. It's nice. It's not like, it's as good as you're going to get for this scale. You're always going to run into problems with it being too thick and too bulky and the material being out of scale. But as far as I can tell, this is at least one of the best sets of clothing I've seen on a figure this size. It probably is the best I've seen in terms of the stitch work and everything. Now, as far as the face, it's not super accurate to the front of the box, but it is incredibly well painted. The details are very, very nicely done. The shading in the hair, it looks good. It looks very nice. It does bother me a little bit that the hair has this big separation in it because it's not removable and interchangeable. There's no other parts or anything. So that's just an assembly line thing, and it doesn't look great from certain angles. But the face itself is really nicely done. Paintwork on the skin tone is non-existent, it's just bare plastic. And the joints don't look great. They're acceptable, but we'll get into that when we do articulation. But it's mostly designed to have the figure under the jacket, I imagine, so that explains the lack of paint. But it's definitely passable as a figure without the jacket if you wanted to do that. So aesthetically speaking, I'll go 9 out of 10. I really like the wear on the jacket. It makes it look like a realistic thing. The little metal thingies, I don't know what those are called. But the stitch work is nice. The coloring is nice. The different materials, like look at the inside. It looks like a real jacket. They did a really good job. The functional zippers, I love the jacket. Even though I don't like soft goods for this scale, they did a good job. And otherwise the aesthetics are nice. So yeah, it's pretty good. All right, now as far as accessories go, you do get the 2 trigger finger hands that come out in the package and then 2 relaxed hands. That's it for hands. And then you get her rifle, which again, just like the jacket, very nicely detailed. The paint job is super clean. There's all kinds of wear and smudges and spots and grime and that kind of thing. It looks very, very nice. So I like that. Unfortunately, that's it for accessories. So I think at this price point, even with the fancy soft goods clothes, it's just not enough. It's not enough going on. So I'm going to go only 6 out of 10 for accessories. I think an alternate face would have been a great thing. A wire in the hood, like it's not really an accessory, but still a wire in the hood would help. And maybe some fist hands or something else. Like there's definitely more you could get other than 2 alternate hands and a gun. So especially at $100, which is another reason soft goods are a problem because they're expensive to make and they make the figures cost more. Okay, so accessories, not the best thing in the world. Now, as far as articulation goes, let's see how that functions. We're going to do it like this so that I have good access to it. The jacket's loose enough that it gets bunchy, like in the shoulder, but it's functional. You can raise the arms up and everything, and you'll see some poses at the end. So the jacket doesn't really hinder articulation, just the aesthetic a little bit. So ball peg in the neck, perfectly good range. Nothing crazy dynamic, but definitely enough. Did it double? It feels like it is actually a double, but you're not getting anything crazy. But definitely Good enough. I like that. Okay, for the shoulder, standard ball hinge. There's no butterfly or anything like that. So you do get the rotation all the way up, obviously all the way around, out to the side, better than horizontal, no problem there. Bicep swivel happens right where you can see it, so that's obviously there. Double jointed elbow works very nicely, plenty of range. Wrists are on little ball hinges. They don't have a ton of range due to the glove being in the way, but it's definitely enough to get the poses that you need to done, so that is good. For the torso, it feels like there's a ball peg. I haven't stripped her down, I'm not going to, but it feels like there's a ball peg in here, up here, so you can just move the whole thing around, and it actually moves very nicely for a ball peg, so that's good. They probably could have used another button right there. YouTube, don't kick this video off. So actually we can see in there a little bit. Let's just, don't get weird, guys, don't get weird. I want to see the articulation. Yeah, so just under the chesticles, I'm hiding the important parts. Just under the chesticles, there is a cut for a ball peg in there. So, don't report me. I hit everything that was important. There is a ball peg in there, and then there's another one down here. So she does move around very nicely. Let me do this. So the blouse is definitely a problem, the way that's not connected, depending on how you look at it. But good range overall, better range back and to the sides, as opposed to forward, but still decent range for sure. And then for the legs, haha, you thought you were gonna see something, you're not. For the legs, they need a little extra material in here because it does get in the way, but you could get the legs farther out, but you do almost get the splits right there. And then bringing them forward, horizontal. Going back, you don't get much because there is a hard butt cheek in there. You do get a thigh swivel. It doesn't do a lot, but it is in there. Double jointed knee works no problem. It's not the best looking thing in the world, but it's all right. It's fine. Not much you can do with soft goods on something like this with this thin material. All right, so there's that. And then the ankles are the same as the wrists where you have a little ball hinge. Decent range for sure. Could be better because the ankle's kind of deep into that boot, but not bad. So as far as posing goes, it's fine. It's nothing special. It's about as good as you would expect for a figure with clothing on. If you have the jacket off, the torso works very nicely. If you have the jacket on, it still works, but it doesn't look as good, and it's kind of a pain in the butt. But if you're into this sort of thing, you are willing to accept that because you are used to those problems. So it's kind of like we have to review what we're reviewing for what it is, not something else. So articulation on this thing, I'm going to go 8 out of 10. It's definitely solid. We could get more range out of the head, out of the ankles, and if the butt cheeks weren't hard sculpted onto the torso rather than the leg, you'd have more range there as well. So it's not perfect, but it's a solid thing. It's a solid item. And I don't know how indicative this is of the rest of the line. Like I said, I'm not into collecting this at all. I haven't owned anything. I haven't even seen them in person. I've just seen photos of them online. But it seems like a pretty standard release as far as I can tell from the photos from them. So time for a final verdict on this release. If you're into soft goods, the soft goods are some of the best at this scale for sure. Very, very nicely done. The figure underneath, it's perfectly adequate. There's nothing terribly wrong with it. A little bit of limited articulation, but otherwise it looks pretty good. Really, the weakest part of this review is going to be the accessories. So that's not the worst thing in the world. I think I'm going to give it an overall rating of 8 out of 10. It's definitely solid. There's a lot to like about it if you're into the soft goods. Just be aware that the accessories are quite limited, and obviously you do have the pitfalls of soft goods at this scale. But it does work fairly well, so yeah, it's all right. So there it is, guys. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please do give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. And if you haven't subscribed, you should. I have new videos almost every single day and thousands already on the channel. Make sure you come back for all of that. And in the meantime, keep collecting.